There's a truth so powerful, so life-altering, that most people never realize it. You have already achieved everything you seek: success, wisdom, enlightenment. The version of you who has conquered every obstacle, unlocked every secret, and stepped fully into their power already exists, right now. But if that's true, why do we struggle? Why do we chase, doubt, and fear? The answer is not that you need to become something more, but that you must remember who you already are. Because there are two versions of you: the one trapped in time, bound by hesitation and limitation, and the one who has already ascended beyond them. This ascended presence is not separate from you. It is you. This is your higher self, the version of you that has already lived through every possible reality, the one that has seen every outcome, mastered every lesson, and ascended beyond the constraints of linear existence. Your higher self exists beyond time, beyond space, beyond limitation. It is the culmination of every experience, every decision, and every version of you across infinite timelines. It is not just an abstract force. It is your most complete, most enlightened state, already achieved, waiting for you to tune in and align. The first thing you must understand is that time, as we perceive it, is an illusion. The past, present, and future are not distinct. They are all happening simultaneously, like different pages in a book that already exists in its entirety. Just as you can flip ahead and glimpse the words of a later chapter, your higher self already stands at the conclusion of your story, having traversed every path and witnessed every outcome. Imagine reality not as a straight line, but as a vast, multi-dimensional web where every choice, every action, branches into countless possibilities, each unfolding at once. To our limited perception, life appears sequential. We move from moment to moment, past to present, present to future. But to your higher self, this illusion of progression does not exist. It perceives all things at once, unbound by the ticking clock or the turning pages. Science and spirituality both hint at this truth. Quantum physics suggests that time is not a fixed river, but a vast ocean where all moments exist simultaneously. Experiments with particles have demonstrated that the future can influence the past, that observation itself alters reality, that the universe behaves not as a rigid machine, but as a fluid, interconnected field of potential. And if this is true on the smallest scale, then it is true for you as well. Your higher self exists in a state of total awareness, beyond the limitations of cause and effect. Imagine for a moment that there are infinite versions of you. Some took a different turn, made different choices, and lived different lives. Some struggled, some succeeded, and some ascended to greater awareness. Your higher self is the version of you that has already reached the peak of evolution, the one that has seen and lived through it all and emerged in a state of ultimate wisdom and clarity. And because all of these versions of you exist within the same vast consciousness, your higher self is not separate or distant. It is accessible now, at this very moment. Think about this. If a version of you has already achieved enlightenment, has already reached the highest level of understanding, then you do not need to strive for something new. You only need to align with what you already are. This version of yourself does not wait for events to unfold because it has already seen them. It does not wonder what choice to make because it already knows every outcome. And because it exists beyond time, it can reach back to you, guiding you, whispering through intuition, synchronicities, and inner knowing. But what does this mean for you? It means that the future is not something you must chase. It is something you can tune into. The highest version of yourself already has everything you seek. And if time is not a straight road but an infinite landscape, then the path to embodying that version of yourself is not about moving forward, but about aligning now. Your higher self is constantly communicating with you, not as an external entity, but as a future memory, whispering through intuition, synchronicities, and deep inner knowing. Have you ever experienced a sudden insight, a feeling of certainty about a decision, as if you were remembering something rather than learning it for the first time? That is your higher self speaking. Every time you get an unshakable feeling about something, whether it is a warning, a pull toward a new opportunity, or an urge to let go of something that no longer serves you, you are receiving a transmission from the most enlightened version of yourself. These are not coincidences. They are echoes from a version of you that has already seen the full picture, calling you toward the path of least resistance, toward the timeline where you awaken to your highest potential. So why do we resist this guidance? Why do we hesitate, doubt, and second-guess the voice within? Because the version of you that exists in the present is still bound by fear, by conditioning, by the illusion of separation. But here's the truth. You do not need to wait for some distant future to become your higher self. You already are. The only thing separating you from that reality is alignment. Your willingness to act as the enlightened version of yourself would act. Think of it this way. If you knew that the highest, most successful, most awakened version of yourself already existed, how would you move through life? Would you hesitate? Would you shrink yourself in fear? Or would you carry yourself with unshakable confidence, knowing that every step is guided by the wisdom of an infinite, ascended you? To embody your higher self, you must think, feel, and will as that version of you would. Not someday, not when you feel ready, but now. Start with mastering your thinking. What do you think about every day? This is extremely important. The thoughts that govern our minds are what create our realities. So take a moment each day and be aware. What was your first thought in the morning? What were you thinking before you took certain action? What was on your mind before anxiety took over? If you analyzed every thought throughout your week, you would realize that 95% of them repeat every day of your life. The instant you start being aware of that and change those thoughts for superior ones that align with your higher self, you will see your life completely transform before your eyes. But why does this happen? How can thoughts have such an immense impact on our daily lives? The reason is simple. Thoughts create feelings, and feelings create action. When you feel a certain way, you start acting a certain way. The musician who creates the best pieces of music the world has ever heard also had a moment in their lives when they wouldn't even think about music. It's only after they started thinking about becoming a musician that they unlocked that possibility, tuning into the infinity of time and choosing the timeline where they become the best musician in the world. That's when they started to nurture their feelings towards music. Those feelings are what dictate our desires and actions throughout the day and lead us to where we put our thoughts in the first place. It's all interconnected. To align your thoughts with your higher self, start with this. Close your eyes and imagine the version of you that has already achieved everything you desire. See them standing before you, radiant, wise, powerful. Notice how they hold themselves, how they speak, how they move through the world. What do they know that you have not yet accepted? What have they let go of that still weighs you down? What choices do they make that you have been afraid to make? Your higher self does not hesitate. It does not second guess. It does not live in fear. It trusts deeply and completely because it already knows how the story unfolds. When you align with your higher self, you move through life with a sense of peace because you understand that nothing is random. Every challenge, every moment of uncertainty is simply a step toward the inevitable realization of your highest potential. This is why surrender is so powerful. To surrender does not mean to give up. It means to release resistance, to stop clinging to the illusion of control, and to allow yourself to be guided by the intelligence of your higher self. It means trusting that if you feel called towards something, there is a reason. If you feel drawn to change, to grow, to step into something greater, It is because the highest version of you is pulling you forward. And when you embrace this truth, everything shifts. Fear loses its grip. Doubt dissolves. You begin to move through life with effortless flow because you are no longer trying to become something. You are simply allowing yourself to be who you already are. So the question is not, how do I become my higher self? The question is, what is stopping me from embodying it now? What outdated beliefs are you clinging to? What patterns are keeping you stuck? What fears are convincing you that you are not yet ready? Because the truth is, you are already there. You have already arrived. The wisdom, the power, the mastery, it is already within you, waiting to be acknowledged, waiting to be lived. And the moment you decide to step into it, everything changes. The timeline shifts, the path opens, and you begin to move with the certainty of someone who already knows how the story ends. So today, right now, make a choice. Act as your higher self would act. Think as they would think. Move through the world with the knowledge that you are already everything you seek to become. Because you are. Once you align with your higher self, you will be able to complete the 3 tests the universe has for you before you receive your eternal gifts. In this next video, we will guide you to complete these tests so you can finally become who you were always meant to be. Thank you for watching.